Nothing But Truth.
Welcome back. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. Yes, I do realize it's somewhat entertaining to hear what Hillary Clinton most recently said about the Zimmerman verdict, or what many in Hollywood have tweeted. I'm sure I can go down that line. I've got a limited amount of time, and I don't want to get stuck on stupid or ridiculous. And though I know it's interesting because I'm curious, I want to look at the train wreck. And it bothers me to even reference it because I think to myself, this is all about pulling us away from other issues. Well, it's not all about that. It's actually about exploiting this issue and forwarding the agenda that happens to deal with and touches on some other issues that we hit as well. Which is it, Crane? Well, it is both. When you hear a story about Benghazi and President Obama, and this is the only time I've said that President Obama has lied, knowingly misled the country, Benghazi, and I hear stories about Hillary 2016 or Hillary's response to a headline from Drudge on the response to the verdict, I think to myself, that's why I talk about corruption in the mainstream media consistently. And that's why I will call those folks out on their bias and their willful blindness when it comes to that issue. The good news is you're in a place where you're going to get the truth and updates, not only from Nothing But Truth, Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth, but at the top of every hour on this network, American Family News, American Family Radio, American Family News. Go to onenewsnow.com to check that out. You're going to get the truth when you lock it in and you listen to Sandy Rios in the morning and Dan the Man Celia with financial issues. Today's issues with Tim Wildman and Eddie V, his new book as well. Kevin McCullough will bring you AFA Today. And B-Man Fisher, that's Brian Fisher, Focal Point. Our good friend, Pastor Bert Harper. When I speak of my good friend, I got to include Brian Fisher and a whole host of people there. So, but I always say that to Pastor Bert Harper because I always think of his smile and the way he approaches things with exploring the Word with Alec McFarland. Also, great guys. And this is what is wonderful about the network. Then we have our friend Tony Perkins from the Family Research Council, Washington Watch. And then yours truly. And as I said, we have limited amount of time, and that's unfortunate. I don't want to say that when we would have a press corps that would do its job and actually confront people with the truth when their policies or what they're saying does not line up, it's not congruent with the facts on the ground, because you will always get people like D.C. Mayor Marion Barry, or for that matter, Nancy Pelosi, but for this case, Eric Bolling is asking Marion Barry, who is a councilman in D.C. now, former mayor of D.C., about a tax that they passed, minimum wage, $12.50, raising it for big box retailers, but excluding union shops, and talking about how all the evidence says this kills jobs. It was targeting Walmart. Walmart's pulling out. Here's just part of that conversation. Roll it.
That could be 6 Walmart stores. That could be thousands of jobs. That could be billions of dollars in revenue, economic activity, and tens of millions in taxes that you're saying goodbye to.
You don't get a job at any price. We don't get a job at any price. What really tipped me over the edge was the fact that Walmart was sticking us up, trying to say, if you don't do this, we're going to do that. We're going to leave here. Suppose we did all legislation like that. People come in and stick you up, unarmed, and etc.
Mayor, you voted to raise the minimum wage for specifically big box retailers, not for union shops.
And so you confront what would be viewed as a very ridiculous point of view, and one that is obviously going to hurt people who are the most vulnerable economically, and those would be going in at the entry level of minimum wage and having that opportunity. And you look at the unemployment numbers that are much higher than what we are experiencing nationwide, 7.6% versus, I don't know the exact, but it's double digit in D.C., and you say, why would somebody kill that? And they can say, well, they're exploiting us. It's always them. It's always those exploiting it. When you make the rules like government does or city councils do, there are consequences to those. Are they expanding freedom? Are they expanding individual liberty? In this case, absolutely not. And the evidence is there. Yet we still have policies and still look at political pressure to raise the minimum wage. And the argument against that is, you want people not to work for a living wage? No. I want the market to determine the worth of their service, of their labor. And I trust the market enough to make that decision, because otherwise I'm empowering you to make an arbitrary decision that will have the result of limiting my individual liberty, my freedom, and my ability to use my God-given gifts. This is something that happens every day, but we're exposing it, and I think you want that. I think you want to know about what's happening and why we're $16 trillion plus in the hole. I think you want a better conversation than dealing with people that are talking about gay rapists potentially when it impacts a trial, and trying to relate everything to race when it was about the evidence. I think you want more. I hope you do. And I think it's, you know what? No, I know, because you're hearing my voice and you know it. And I think what you heard today benefited you far more than concentrating on the ridiculous. And though at times it's going to be controversial, because the truth is controversial, you're going to welcome it. And I appreciate that. Check out nothingbutTruth.com. Go to the American Family Radio Train Durham's Nothing But Truth Facebook page. Please remember and always know that God knows you. He loves you. He created you. He loves you right where you're at, and you're worth it. And I say it pointing up to God, as Pastor David would say, but in a different way. Pointing up to God, and